Hi, this is Alannah Myles, and you're listening to Backbeat. All music is the same. It's just a new set of lyrics and a new backbeat.
AndreGraziadei here from Backbeat with an interview with Alannah Myles, who is now on tour in Germany. I'd like to welcome you to Lahr. You're going to have your show tonight.
Yes, thank you. I look forward to it. We missed it about a month ago simply because of illness. I got pneumonia when I got off the plane and was continuing to tour and not in a bed. So we have come back now to make sure that we get everybody that we missed on the first time round.
Mm-hmm. You grew up the second of 5 children in Toronto as well as in Northern Ontario. Would you consider yourself a city or a country girl?
I think, in all honesty, both, because I know that there's a large part of me that requires the chaos of a big city. And there's an even larger part that requires the solace and the nurturing of the wilderness, and just to be on my horse riding through the woods, or to be around my family's farm in the quiet of the cabin where we shot Black Velvet. Now, the horse is not at the farm. They used to be when we were kids, but the horse needs a lot of care, so I have him boarded at a stable north of Toronto's airport, and I have a dartboard kind of map that I have to drive to whenever I want to ride and whenever I want to go up north. So one of these days I'll kind of move them a little closer together so I can have it all at once.
You decided relatively early in life that you wanted to be a recording artist and musician, and in fact years later, so determined that you sold your horse to purchase your very own Ovation guitar. Do you still own it?
I do, actually. I keep it up north as a spare guitar just to be there in case I come up with an idea, and I don't want to. It's sometimes a pain in the butt unless I'm really geared towards wanting to play, because I have my favorite guitars, and they're beautiful guitars. I use them on my recordings, and the other players that play guitar play my acoustic guitars because they're fabulous guitars, but I have left it up there. Yeah, I was pretty serious about what I wanted to do, and I needed a decent guitar to do it. And when I wanted to do it, I was not supported, so something had to go. I couldn't afford the horse and the guitar and the lifestyle I was taking on.
I see. How was the atmosphere at home? Would you say you come from a musical family background?
No, absolutely not. I was the only one that had any musical bones. My mother played piano, but mostly some of the lessons that she had remembered that she had taken. And she was good, but she was raising a family, and she was not dedicated to that. She was Irish, and there's a lot of musical lineage, a lot of, musical heritage in the Irish background. My father was tone deaf. My family had no interest whatsoever in music beyond what was being sold at, the time when we were kids. They were artists. They went to art school and became graphic artists. I was the first of the 4 girls who went to art school and paved the way and showed them the school to go to. And I wanted to be a graphic artist, but I decided I felt art was too competitive, and I got into music. My heart just said, you got to sing. And my father was in the business, and so he encouraged me to play for his guests. I was ordered to play for the guests. If you have a musical talent, then develop it. And I think somehow, whether he knew it or not, because he died before my fame, he was grooming me for my faith, for something I believed in. We were an advertising family. We learned a lot about business in the media world through my father, and I think by osmosis, not necessarily sat down and taught, but when you're instead of reading comic books, you're reading marketing magazine. Well, you're going to pick things up, and it was not really understood, me being a musician, beyond that I was the weird one in the family.
Well, I think that's what most artists are considered somehow weird.
Well, sure, at first, because when someone can find get over the shyness enough to pick up a musical instrument and get out in front of people and make a fool of themselves, then they're considered weird because others could not do that. It's an unusual thing to be gifted with. Gifted or cursed, one or the other.
In 1989, after years of playing in clubs and paying your dues, as they say, you had the opportunity to record your debut album. Do you remember where you were and how you reacted when you first heard your music on the radio?
Oh my God, yes I do. I didn't have any money, and so I'd given up my acting job that paid me well. I was a television actress, and I was starting to get well read for by casting people for films. And I had to make a decision not to go into acting full-fledged after 8 years of struggling through making money in it, because I had believed that I was, going to go forward with my music, and I'd been signed by Atlantic Records, and I was being given an opportunity, and I couldn't blow the opportunity. Mm-hmm. So I made a decision to give up the acting, and so I had 2 years of where I made no money, none. I was supported by Christopher, and the record company didn't support me. They gave me my income. My personal income went from 50,000 Canadian dollars to 2. Thank you, Atlantic Records. They paid for only the music, nothing else. And it didn't matter because I was in the studio every day, and beyond, my food and whatever the daily costs, Christopher took care of that with his job at Much Music as a VJ, so that he could, in effect, executive produce me and, make me. He was more like a manager. He was like somebody who took care of my needs so that I could go and create, because I had to be there. I was creating, co-producing, creating with my producer my own sound, sculpting it out and saying, no, I don't like this. Yes, I like this, etc. And I was borrowing a girlfriend's car, and it was at night, and I was going to, we were touring. I can't tell you all the details because they're too disgusting. It'd have to be in a movie. It'd have to be in a comedy movie, because then you can laugh. Because right now, if I told you, you wouldn't laugh. You'd just be horrified. And I was at a drugstore, and I was in a 24-hour shop. And I was going into the store, and suddenly on my friend's car, it's one of these 1980s little jobbies, 1987 Thunderbird or something like that. And I heard Black Velvet on the radio, and it sounded fantastic, and I was just blown away because it sounded so amazing. It just was mixed and produced so nicely, and I was kind of overwhelmed. And as I listened to the song, I turned into the ignition, into the position where it's on auxiliary, so I could sit there without the car running. And at that precise moment, the car turned off, and in the middle of the Black Velvet, just before the pause of "If You Please," which is my favorite part of the song. I've only heard it 1,000 times, but I want to hear it on radio for the first time and hear how it sounds. And at that precise moment when I wanted to hear that little break on radio, the car said, "Your windshield wiper fluid is low." Had these voices that spoke in a computer tone to you, so I was like, "Oh no," and I missed it.
Maybe you could introduce that into a song someday.
I'll probably never forget it. It'll probably be somewhere. Windshield wiper fluid is low. It'll probably be. I'll put it somewhere one day in a recording, and it'll be hysterical. And people, that'll be my story. That's part of the song for all intents and purposes. If you're listening to the song and there's a pause and suddenly it breaks in with this stupid voice, it's like, eh. And now I'm hearing recordings doing that. A lot lately. There's a song where a girl speaks and she says, "Do you want to go to bed with me?"
Oh, that's
it's hysterical. I love the video with the fried eggs on the clothesline. I think it's just hysterical.
Touch and go, I think, is it?
Oh, it's absolutely funny. It's so funny. I just love it.
When an artist completes an album, he hopes it will do well. After you completed that first album, did you know what you had, or were you surprised by the enormous success that it achieved?
Well, I have answered that question honestly in the past, and unfortunately it has only produced a level of arrogance I have yet been chiseling away at to try and get rid of. Yes, I knew exactly what I had. It was amazing music. It was like no one else's and like everyone else's. I was a woman that sang powerfully with some really well-crafted songs, really well-produced. I knew exactly what I had. I knew that it would be a multi-million seller. Against all the odds that were against me, the brand new signing, the first record, everything, I still knew what its potential could have been. So I stuck with my story, and then it happened. And then people went, "Oh my God, she knew." And then after I got huge, they went, "Oh my God, she's an arrogant pig." So I watched all kinds of people around me changing. I watched everybody change. Then suddenly my knowledge of what I was got turned into arrogance of what I was. People didn't see it as just foresight. They saw it as somebody who was so sure of themselves that they couldn't even be in the same room as ordinary people. It wasn't that way at all. It's just one of those things you just in your senses you just know. It just made sense to me, and so I'm not going to lie to you and pretend, oh no, it was a big shock. Fame was a big shock because there's no education for that. But the success of it, and I knew the music was great. It used to, for hours and hours, I'd meditate on the music and I'd sit there listening to it going, this is so, I would dance in front of the mirror for hours. It would just captivate my attention. And I thought, if this kind of music can do this to me, what's it going to do to the rest of the world? It just filled me up. I loved it. And I still to this day love it. And subsequently everybody else does too. So, if that's arrogance, I apologize.
Not at all. I think it worked out very well. I had the opportunity to see you in concert when you toured to support your album Rocking Horse. And you mentioned that the song Sonny Say You Will held a special meaning for you. In what way?
It was one of the first songs Christopher Ward wrote for me up north at my cottage inside the little, there's a little bay window with a seat nook in it up north. And I left them upstairs to write. And when I came back, he'd produced this beautiful song. And when we were living together, I remember sleeping at night beside him and thinking, you stole it from me. No, you stole it from, it was my dream song. It's got me all over it. And it was just a very special song to me because it was, as I said, one of the first he'd written. And I didn't put it on the first record because we only really had one room for a ballad. And we needed something of my own, and I had written Lover of Mine. So that had to make the album. Now, it's got a billion credits on it, but I wrote it, and everybody knows it. So I'm not ashamed to say, hey, that's incepted by me. I wrote the melody, the words, everything. So I had help with it for people to make it better. But everybody knows it was mine. And Sonny made the second record. And I'm kind of sorry because I don't feel it was produced the way it could have been. And I'm now doing it in the shows, and I'm getting ideas for it. I really want that song to come back out. And I've been encouraged by Buddy Guy's song, Give Me One Good Reason, that was done by Tracy Chapman. She recorded that song, and 7 years later re-recorded it, and then it became an enormous hit. So it's given me great faith in Sonny, because I think that song, the people loved it, and they would scream for it, and it still did. So I had to reincorporate it into the set because I'm selling a best of record now. And it just, if I didn't do it, I'd just get screamed, Sonny, Sonny. They love it. The people loved it. So I'm going to try and some way reproduce it and somehow get it back out into the public conscience. Somehow, some way. Because I have such faith in it. I absolutely love to sing it. I have to say it's one of the favorite songs I've ever sung. I've now discovered, upon singing it for the past month, that I'm not prepared to give it up. I want to make that song my trademark. It's so beautiful. Now I've developed it, and I'm singing more like Ray Charles or Aretha Franklin on the end of it. And I develop the song in the beginning. I'll tell a story. I'll write a story, all in rhyme, about the charming things I saw in my travels to the city I'm visiting. And I'll say the people holding hands, walking by the statues, by the bridge, by the Prague, in the river, and how, I got my nose pierced today, and how, a lot of people thought that was weird. And I'll be singing all this stuff in the prelude to the song. And it's very beautiful because it's all nonsensical, kind of off the cuff writing. It's called Stream of Conscience. I'm just so happy and in my element singing. The voice sounds very pretty. I'm warming my voice up to sing the song, but I'm telling a little story. And everybody falls in love with the bus driver comes to me and he says, Alannah, you know that song. It's beautiful. You sing about the people holding hands and kissing on the bridges, and that's so beautiful. I said, I don't know. I was just writing. His eyes bulge out of his head and say, it's not a song. And I said, well, Sonny's a song. He doesn't understand that I was writing a song in front of you. That's all. It's something I've grown to learn to do. And in that song in particular, I think there must be something magical about it because the song gets written special for the audiences I'm singing in front of. So hopefully, from now on, everywhere I go, if I'm so motivated and I'm in good voice and collective, that the conscience will release beautiful images from my mouth while I prepare myself to sing the song. It's just beautiful, beautiful.
Okay, you've performed in many countries before, different audiences. How would you say the European crowds differ to the North American?
They're more sophisticated. They appreciate the sound of the human voice, and they are prepared to just listen.
Touring is hard work and can get quite stressful. How do you relax and how do you keep fit?
Shopping.
How many pairs of shoes should a woman own? As many as she thinks she should.
It's not shoes I shop for.
That's fine.
I'm not Imelda Marcos.
That's fine. You've toured with many people over the past decade, among them Tina Turner and Robert Plant. What was it like being on the same bill with the artists who musically influenced you?
Well, fortunately, Tina Turner's a woman, and I'm not interested in women. But Robert Plant, on the other hand,
Led Zeppelin, of course.
he became my boyfriend for several years after that. I was very much in love with Robert, and I learned a lot from him. I learned a tremendous amount. He was very, very willing to teach. Wonderful person. Wonderful talent.
Your last studio album, Arrival, was partly recorded with your new producer, Miles Copeland, at his castle in France. Did that influence the feel of the tracks that you recorded there?
I think it was kind of incidental. I happened to be there writing with God Was One of Us. Eric Bazillion had written a song for, what was the name of the girl? Osborne?
Joan Osborne.
Joan Osborne's God Was One of Us. I can't remember the name of the song. And hugely famous Desmond Childs. And because we were there, and because we did a demo, and because it sounded sensational, we then just used the track, and I recut it. I didn't recut the track, I just added, overdubbed some guitars, overdubbed the drums to get live drums, because I had an incredible drummer, Bjorn Anderson, and tried to take the initial. I can't help but think that maybe I should have recut it, that it was romantic to think that I'd recorded it there and so on, but it wasn't the best recording. So in future I won't do that again, unless the tracks really speak to you and say, holy shit, this is amazing. I won't do that, and I don't think that was a Holy Shies track, if you know what I mean. I think it could have had a little bit, I think it should have done more acoustically.
Your latest release, The Very Best Of, is a great collection of songs. Who got to choose the songs that were to wind up on the album?
It was all my choice, and I produced the record, so it was all my decisions as to the segues and where they would fit and why. Certainly, having worked with many other incredible producers who taught me, Christopher Ward was a very good teacher to me about how things fit in a certain sequence, and my performances around the world taught me how to place songs to keep an audience still awake, to keep them on their toes. Don't bring them down too much over here, always bring them back up over here, etc. Miles Copeland was responsible for the decision of the European album had to see some of the songs that sold in Europe, because if it's a greatest hits, people want to get songs that they made hits. It's only right.
True.
So certain songs that are not particularly my favorite made the record. Over in Europe, one song in particular, Great Divide, which everyone felt was missed. They thought it was a hit, but we didn't get that far because EMI in Europe had so many different changing of hands while the record was being released that the record got lost as a result of the changeovers going on. So we lost that song, so that song made it. In North America, there's about 2 or 3 songs less. We just got rid of the ballady styled lush Euro soundtracks and so on, because people over there would go, eh? And I gave 9 videos had been done to these songs. That made it made sense, because then they could play the videos and remind people of my visual audience. And beyond that, it was pretty difficult to choose. Everybody's Breaking Up got chosen because I think that's a hit. I think it's a blues, an amazing production. It was off my 3rd record. It just, what I didn't see before, I see now. So I thought, well, why wait for a blues record? Why wait? Just put it on now. It was sort of like my, kind of a rhetorical Black Velvet, if you will.
2 tracks on the album are soundtrack contributions, one of them being a duet with Zucchero. How did that come about?
Miles had a film soundtrack that he wanted to put Zucchero together with me. I had met Zucchero at the castle, and the first thing I started doing with Zucchero was he picked up his guitar and started playing in the courtyard, and I came along and started singing along with him. It was the most natural thing in the whole world. So he saw 2 singers that just bonded as singers. His voice made mine want to soar. So he put us together. It's not my favorite track because this track was sung for Zucchero because he was the multi-million seller in Italy at the time, and we wanted to do a crossover thing. And unfortunately, the movie was really, really good, but it didn't do anything, as movies are known to do. Sometimes they're hits, sometimes they're not.
True.
It was a fabulous, action-packed thriller from the 14th century. It was fabulous, but it didn't do well. So unfortunately, the song kind of didn't really see the success it perhaps deserves.
Is there anyone you would like to sing with together?
Once I tried to sing in the studio with Robert Plant in Los Angeles on Our World, Our Times, and every single piece of mechanical equipment in the entire studio broke down. So I took it as an omen.
Wasn't meant to be.
Wasn't meant to be. And after that, let me think. I think Lenny Kravitz is amazing. I think Mick Jagger is absolutely superlative. I would love to be the next female duet with Mick Jagger, simply because he hasn't done a duet with a woman in such a long time, and he still captures such a feeling of sexuality. I feel I have the female power to be able to not certainly match his, because he's the one and only, but it would be a lot of fun, I think, for both. It would certainly change my career, and I would be able to reach a lot more people, but it would be sexy and it would be fun. I like Bryan Adams. I think he's a wonderful singer. I don't think he's done anything sexy in a long, 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 long time. This new duet he's got is a great pop song, but it's far from sexy.
True.
I don't know. Let me think. There's a lot of people, that I think are really, really talented out there. But I want to do something that's of a blues nature. I want to do something really sexy.
You have the ability of delivering a passionate ballad as well as a great rocking tune. After having recorded several albums, do you feel your writing and musical style has changed?
Not really. I think, like any other artist who's been around the world and back again, realizes that all music is universal. All music is the same. It's just a new set of lyrics and a new backbeat. It's just drum loops instead of drummers. It's just a new production, but it's the same old song.
What's on tap now for Alannah Myles once this tour ends? I mean, I read in the internet you're pretty much on tour now for most of the year.
Yeah, I'm going to have to find. I have to section off my life so that I can. I really want to write again. I've got all these great ideas, and I go through strange periods where I have to write in a book and write all my poetry, and I separate the poetry from the songs, and then I don't prejudice the potential poetry from being a song. But I have to collect all my ideas up, and I want to get those. I've been writing for a year now in a book, and I want to get some of those ideas out on demo tapes. And I feel there's a need for that. Though I did not want it after the rise and fall of the Arrival record. I really expected that record to do better than it did, and if it perhaps had the money behind it and the faith behind it, it would have. And it really made me very bitter because I'd worked very hard. But in a grand scheme of things, I figure we all have to learn lessons. I learned another lesson. Don't expect, and when you least expect, you will get. So it taught me how to produce. I had to look on the bright side. I'm a better producer, I'm a better songwriter, and now we move on. And so I'm going back into, my desire is to make another record. I'm planning for a very sexy, I've got these ideas. I want to do this. I've got an operetta in my head, like an aria with my voices, like an Italian aria. Mixed with drum loops, making it into a dance song. I've got some songs that are very, very sexy, but have a moralistic viewpoint about sex and love. I have a lot of really sexy ideas and a lot of very majestic and very regal ideas. So I'm really wanting to get back into creative mode, but in the meantime, I'm trying to, I don't know whether it's going to be accomplished. It's a question of whether we get the recording track out. I want to record a live record, because I think it's very important. People love live records here. And it would be a nice carryover record for them to purchase and make me a living while I'm working out the financial details of how I'm going to get my next record released and on what label. I don't know. I'm in the middle of a quandary right now, knowing what I'm going to do. But I'm not worried, because I'm sure I'll once I've spun out, I'll land.
Great. Well, thank you very much for taking time out from your busy schedule to speak with me, and I wish you all the best for the future.
Thank you. It's been a delight. You're a charming lad, and it's always nice to see somebody from back home.
Thank you very much.